Okay, thank you, Galip, and thank you organizing this following conference, I should say, after South Africa. And in that sense, I would like to also thank AMEC for being here in Istanbul. Welcome. If Galip allows me, let me try to answer his question at the end of my presentation. Sure. He asked me how Turkish position and policy adapted, or how adapting itself, what's happening currently. As Galip was posing the question, he also used good even enough amount of negative terms, destruction, crisis, and etc. He did it rightly because we are somehow in the age of global political depression. And what is currently taking place is quite clear geopolitical recession. And it is very understandable when you have global political depression, at the same time geopolitical recession, the security issue and securitization will rise, and sharply, intensively will rise. So it is not legitimizing, but it is explaining how we ended up here. And why this took place, all you know these details, but just to remind and frame our thoughts, our global operating system, whatever it is, you may like it or not, is outdated. If there is a global economic positioning system, which I believe there is not functioning. That doesn't mean it was functioning great, operating system was running beautifully, but there was something, and it was at least creating some kind of norm where we can start with. Right now we are having big issues, if not crisis, in those areas. And also, as expected, global institutions are in deadlock. They are not producing answers, and they are producing more vicious cycles. And global double deficits are widening. What are they? Both global political and economic institutions are not producing any surpluses, but producing deficits. And it's interesting, exact mainstream economic account deficit problem is manifesting itself in global institutions, political institutions too. So we're not only having a big crisis and problems in World Trade Organization or financial organizations, World Bank, IMF, a big crisis, but also in international political, global and regional organizations, United Nations, IAEA, EU. So both the balance of global imbalances of last century is somehow reaching some kind of end. And this has been expressed, this has been written extensively, especially last 4 or 5 years. And it is different than being critical towards the world system, global order. That's another thing. It's not a new phenomenon. It's been there since the let's say, if we talk about just 20th century, right after Bretton Woods system, Second World War, there are always critics, there are always solid criticism, trying to change the system, evaluate the system, re-examine, etc. That was a different wave. Right now, what we are facing is very solid, real, as Galip said, in a sense, collapse of the current structure. And in any foreseeable future and in any projection flying around us, as you hear, they are negative and destructive. And we do not have literally a positive agenda for the world, global order, regional order, even single countries. And chaos is not a good term to define what we are passing through. Maybe it is not enough. What I call is, this is age of exits, populism, xenophobia, nationalism, terrorism, and exits are on rise. Everybody wants to exit from somewhere, doesn't matter. Everybody wanna escape, but they cannot explain you where they are heading, even why they are exiting. But this is the new trend, and after US elections and just some late developments, it is becoming even more exciting. And in this age of exits, it seems impossible for the existing global order to survive under such strong centrifugal forces. When every dynamic starts acting as a centrifugal actor or forces, how are we going to hold some kind of center, some kind of common ground platform where we can update, collaborate, and have solutions towards problems? We are losing that chance and the platform. That doesn't mean up until now we had a beautiful center and platform where we were coming together. No, there were always hegemonical hierarchy. It is understandable, it is explainable, more than not having any kind of center and the platform where we can start with. So that is the nature of the crisis. And if a period of speedy reforms in international institutions is not launched and positive agenda is not formed in global regional cooperations, I believe the chaotic waves will inevitably amplify day by day, and unfortunately, as you all witness, it is happening. In brief, I have many titles, but in brief, we ought to see that we have come to end of the order based on equilibrium of global imbalances in last century. Balance of imbalances actually played its role. It was kind of a disorder, but it had some nature and logic which worked with the help of security institutions and the global geopolitical balance, but it is not helping us anymore. In a period of disorder, as every country is preoccupied by its own exit, steps must be taken swiftly so we will not end up in a new phase of global and regional conventional wars. This is a very well-known story. I mean, pick any century, tensions start like this. They evolve, they transform, but at the end, it's quite similar. I mean, we do have conventional wars, and there is no need to accumulate such a terrible negative tension, and which will not help nobody. Even worse, as transactional international relations increase, shifts in geopolitical axis will speed up, and even the concept of geopolitics itself will face the risk of becoming meaningless. And I believe this is the biggest risk. It is more important than the current security structure, global institutions. It is deadlock, because imagine a world where and international relations without productive, meaningful geopolitics and politics. Right now, both politics and geopolitics are under attack. And when we start losing geopolitics and the politics, there isn't much to do but just let the security concept literally cover everywhere, and the hope for solution to be erased from the scene. And actually, Syria was the best example. When geopolitics is disappeared, what happens? Right now, if you check out the main issues of the countries, just from their speeches and acts, looks like the biggest problem of the world is ISIS. Is it true? Definitely not. Is ISIS a problem? Yes. Is it a big problem? Yes. For our region, it's a big problem. Is it the biggest risk of the world? No, it is not. What is it? It is a terrorist organization. Imagine you end up the following thing, and this is real. It was the end of the dialectics where Iran and Israel, Saudi Arabia and Iraq, Russia and United States, etc. Everybody became together. The biggest coalition world whatsoever seen in the history, probably. It is more than Gulf War, Second World War, never seen such a coalition. So what they were supposed to do, fight against a terrorist organization. Okay, good. So what happened? Still, ISIS is around, still attacking in our cities. Then the question comes to mind, I mean, how come the biggest and the largest, most powerful coalition, which is even literally ended the dialectics of the ideology and the 20th century, cannot defeat such a terrorist organization? There are two possibilities. Either they did not fight, or ISIS is powerful than such a big coalition. If second one is not convincing you, then the answer is the first one. Then we need to question why this is taking place. And my answer is, when you lose the concept and the perspective of geopolitics and the politics itself, that means having a perspective in long term, having an approach in mid-term and long term, that means you need to produce politics. You need to come up with some kind of terms, and you need to be serious, by the way. Tactics, maneuvers, manipulations, proxy wars, intelligence tactics, these could be attractive, but they are not going to help. You should be serious, you should be having a long-term perspectives, then you can start working with on these issues. Unfortunately, when we lost the approach of geopolitics and the belief in geopolitics, I can't read, so we ended up this scenario. Let me finish. I didn't see Galip, sorry. Galip asked me how Turkey is going to adapt itself. You know, in such an environment, even if you defend the geopolitics alone, it is something. How I see in Turkey, it doesn't matter ups and downs, tactical failures, successes, strategic gains and losses. This is not a big deal, I mean, because when you lose the main perception and the perspective, we do have a bigger problem. That's why I jumped into global political recession issue. Exact replica is taking place in our region. Even it is worse. Both geopolitics and politics are in death thrones. Actors are literally trying to play in the field where is all fault lines are not either belong to this region or it is implemented by West. And you are trying to create a new order out of it. It is not easy, but adaptation is one of the most powerful nature of human beings and countries. Is it helping? No, it is not. But forget about Turkey's adaptation. Everybody will adapt unless somebody would tell them, stop, there is a bigger problem. In year 2000, in London, they were trying to open a bridge, a walking bridge. Queen was present there. They made the ceremony. Thousands of people started walking, and bridge started trembling. They said, stop, stop, get out. Everybody was out. I mean, some said they were not able to be very careful about the wind calculation. Others said structure is mistaken, maybe the material, etc., etc. Anyway, they checked them out. Day after they reopened, people rushed in. Again, bridge was almost going to collapse. They said, okay. And the third trial was similar. They closed it indefinitely. The problem was the design of bridge was mistaken. How mistaken? When bridge started trembling with the one step first person took, the others actually adapted themselves against that trembling force. They exited. They had another uncontrolled step. When thousands of people did the same thing, bridge was about to stop. So what one could do in a such scenario? You stop, if you can. Can you stop? No. But our responsibility is pointing that the design is mistaken. We have a mistaken design here. Design is no good. Design must be updated or changed. And in the Middle East, the adaptation is the easiest thing. Unless we change this design, bridge cannot hold any longer. And
well,
it's
let me
quite
ask
apparent, and I will finish here.
Sure. Let me ask a question.